Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode 16 video. Just careful for spoilers if you haven't seen it yet. They did a big bad reveal. I mean, we already knew who the big bad was, but they actually showed his face. If you haven't read the Secret Warriors comic books, they're doing a lot of things from that. They're pulling a lot of characters, but the storyline isn't exactly the same. Even the Hive character in the comics is a little bit different from what the TV show is doing with him. And even though I call him Hive, his name is the Hive. So there's a few distinctions between the way the comic books use him and the way the TV show is using him. Like on the TV show, he has all those tiny organisms that are really like parts of himself that he uses to devour people. But in the comics, they're way, way bigger, but it's pretty much the same thing. He uses those organisms to control other people. That's why he was taking out the bases where they were developing technology to counteract stuff like that. So let's just do top 5 WTF and I'll try to explain all the craziness from the comic books. Number 5. Daisy finds out that Lincoln killed his last girlfriend. The way they explain it is that all that drama went down before he took in the Terrigen Mist. He's been trying to reform himself since then, but it kind of explains why his character has been so standoffish. Like he's one of the least charismatic characters on the show right now. I can understand why female watchers might really like him. You know, he's kind of like the Winter Soldier, the broken puppy that you want to nurse back to health. But really for me, the most interesting part of that storyline was them finding number 4 WTF, the orb that will probably have something to do with banishing Hive again. Now notice that they said in the past that Hive, one of the original Inhumans that were created by the Kree, had to be banished. They couldn't kill him. Like you kill part of him, there's still thousands of tiny little organisms that make up his body that could just go off and inhabit someone else. So we can talk about that as we get closer to the end of the season, because in the comics, when the host that the Hive is inhabiting dies, it just inhabits another body and it becomes Madam Hydra. And she has like this big tentacle looking hat that she wears around all the time. So maybe that's what's going to happen at the end of this season. I don't really know if they'd be able to do that without getting rid of Grant Ward, if he even exists now. Number 3 WTF, Malik's Paradise Lost flashbacks. This was so much fun. I love the way they brought back Whitehall for that flashback scene. So we learned Malik is a complicated guy. Like he was the one in the flashbacks who was really upset that they were even listening to Whitehall. He was all about family tradition. It was his brother that ended up getting sacrificed eventually. He was the one who was like, I had to know what our father did. He was a coward. He was a liar the whole time. The irony is that Malik then uses their father's trick to try and survive. Now, he didn't want his brother to get sacrificed. It just worked out that they were standing next to each other and he got the short end of the stick. But as we find out, his memories were still alive inside Hive, so they have the nice Paradise Lost middle finger. Like his brother's giving him the middle finger from beyond the grave. Like, I know what you did, asshole. Number 2 WTF, killing Malik's daughter. I actually thought that he was just going to turn her and she was just going to be some zombie for him for the rest of the series. This was a little bit better. She wasn't that big of a character, so the WTF of her dying wasn't quite as big as it could have been. We've really only met her for a little while. But here's what they're doing. You know, number 1 WTF, Malik is now anti-Hive. He will probably try to find a way to help Coulson by the end of the series, because as evil as he's been, he's a saint compared to what Hive has planned for the Earth. And I love the way they characterize this ancient Inhuman. There were a couple different storylines that were explaining Hive's backstory, namely through the Daisy Lincoln stuff. So what happened is the Kree created the Inhumans to fight in the Kree-Skrull War. They were going to be their minions. Hive was meant to lead that army. That's why his ability allows him to control others, to influence others, so that he could use them all like finger puppets. So it sounds like he's going to be doing that before the end of the season, no matter what. You get some big spectacular Inhuman scene where he's controlling a bunch of people. Maybe some people we know will end up getting mind controlled, like Daisy and Lincoln. But even if you haven't read the comics, they kind of explained on the TV series that the Kree abandoned the Inhuman project. They're just like, okay, you know, this isn't working out the way we wanted to, so we're going to pack up and leave. And the Inhumans that they created, that first generation, had to figure out what to do after that. But because Hive was out of control, they all had to band together to banish him to that foreign planet, Ma-Veth, probably using that orb, which is Kree technology. So you can kind of see where the season is going. Daisy's like, hey, we have the Secret Warriors team that we were putting together. Why don't we activate them? They'll have to band together again to find a way to banish Hive. I feel like it's going to be the situation where they'll never be able to kill Hive. They'll only be able to contain him or banish him somewhere else. But let me know in the comments, what do you think is going to happen with Hive and with Ward at the end of the season? Do you think that they're going to have to get rid of Brett Dalton, they're going to try and banish Hive to another planet? Or do you think that Hive is just going to slink off, inhabit someone else's body, and come back in a future season? But if you guys didn't see, they've been talking a lot about movie-TV crossovers lately. Even though Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to have some Civil War stuff going on, it's going to be a one-way crossover. Kevin Feige actually clarified that because they planned the movies so far in advance, most of the Phase 3 movies had been written and planned out before they ever did Inhumans on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so there's not really an easy way for them to cross over logistically. But that doesn't mean that the TV shows will never cross over with the movies. It's just that most of the crossover stuff you see happening is going to only be addressed on the TV show. The movies will never address the TV shows. So it's kind of a bummer, but now you understand why DC was the same thing with their movies and TV shows. They're like, it's too complicated, so we're not even going to try. We got our movies doing their thing, we got the TV shows doing their own thing. But I know there's some stuff that's still on break this week, like there's no Flash episode. I will do a bonus video for that because the actor that plays Zoom was talking about the Man in the Metal Mask in the finale. So all kinds of awesome stuff happening this week, even though there's some TV shows on break. So be sure to subscribe to get everything, and I will be doing some more Doctor Strange later this week too. While you guys wait for me to post that next video, you can click here to learn all about the Spider-Man Homecoming movie, and you can click here to watch the Doctor Strange trailer again. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.